Have you ever stood in traffic, looked at the person next to you in a shiny, brand new $80,000 SUV, and felt a sudden pinch of jealousy? It is incredibly easy to look at the shiny things other people own and assume they have their lives completely figured out. We naturally assume that a nice car, a big house, or regular trips to fancy restaurants means someone is rich. But the truth is, there is a massive world of difference gulf between being able to buy something and actually being able to afford it. Anyone with decent credit can sign a piece of paper and walk off a car lot with a monthly payment that eats up half their income. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to climb a financial ladder without realizing that the rungs we are stepping on have completely different rules. We get a little raise at work, we immediately buy a slightly nicer car, and we wonder why we still feel just as stressed as we did when we were earning minimum wage. It is like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how fast you sprint, you stay in the exact same place. Real wealth is completely invisible because it exists in the assets you own rather than the liabilities you display to your neighbors. A liability is simply anything that takes money out of your pocket every single month, like a car loan or credit card debt. Today, we are going to break down the actual levels of wealth based on what you can truly afford, starting from basic survival all the way to complete time freedom. By the end of this chat, you will see exactly where you currently stand, and more importantly, how to shift your focus from looking wealthy to actually being secure. The very first level of wealth is what we can call survival affordability, where life is governed entirely by the price tags in front of you. This is the reality for anyone living paycheck to paycheck, which turns out to be a massive percentage of the population. At this stage, you look at your bank account, see $50, and buy a $45 bag of groceries. Technically, you can pay for it because the transaction goes through without your card getting declined, but in reality, you cannot actually afford it because that single purchase actively drains almost all of your remaining resources. If your car battery dies or your tooth starts hurting next Tuesday, that $45 grocery trip suddenly cascades into a full-blown financial crisis. You are constantly playing a dangerous game of financial Tetris, moving bills around and hoping nothing unexpected falls from the sky. This is a highly stressful place to be because your entire life is reactive. Every decision you make is driven by short-term necessity rather than long-term planning because you simply do not have the luxury of time. If you are stuck in this zone, a single flat tire can feel like the absolute end of the world. You should care about this level because understanding it is the first step to escaping it, and it helps you realize that survival is not the same thing as stability. Escaping this level isn't just about making more money, it is about breaking the cycle of immediate consumption. Once you manage to get a little bit of breathing room, you climb up to the level of convenience affordability. This is the stage where you can buy a $6 coffee or pay $10 extra for grocery delivery without having to check your bank balance first. You aren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but you've successfully bypassed the daily, exhausting math of basic survival. It feels incredibly liberating because for the first time, you are using money to buy back small slivers of your energy and time.
Instead of spending an hour walking to the store in the rain, you pay for a quick ride share because your time is worth more to you than the $15. But this level contains one of the most dangerous traps in modern finance, commonly known as lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when your spending naturally rises to match your new higher income, leaving your savings rate completely flat. You start earning more, so you upgrade your apartment, get a nicer gym membership, and subscribe to 3 more streaming services. Suddenly, those small, convenient choices start adding up to hundreds of extra dollars leaving your pocket every single month. On paper, you look like you are doing incredibly well, but your bank account is still hovering close to zero at the end of every single month. If you lose your job at this level, you might have nicer things to look at, but your timeline for survival is exactly the same as someone at level 1. The secret to mastering this level is enjoying the conveniences without letting them dictate your entire financial future. The third level of wealth is where things start to get really interesting because it isn't about what you can buy, but what you can survive. This is the safety net level, which is defined by having a fully funded emergency fund sitting quietly in a bank account. An emergency fund is simply 3 to 6 months of your actual living expenses saved up in cash, completely separate from your daily spending money. If your boss decides to fire you tomorrow, or if your entire industry goes through a sudden downturn, you do not panic. You know with absolute certainty that you can easily pay your rent, buy groceries, and keep your life running smoothly for half a year without borrowing a single dollar. Most people never actually reach this level because society constantly pressures us to spend our extra cash on upgrades instead of peace of mind. We would rather buy a shiny new watch that everyone can see than a quiet cushion of cash that nobody knows about. But having this cushion changes your entire psychological relationship with the world around you. When you are not constantly terrified of losing your job, you speak up more, you worry less, and you make much better long-term decisions. You no longer tolerate bad treatment at work because you know you have the financial power to walk away if you really need to. A sudden, unexpected crisis goes from being a life-shattering disaster to a highly annoying inconvenience. This is the first level where money starts to work for your mental health rather than just your physical survival. Once your safety net is firmly established, you unlock the fourth level of wealth, which is the ability to afford choice and calculated risk. This is the point where you can afford to walk away from a toxic manager, take a lower-paying job that you actually care about, or finally start that business you have been planning for years. You are no longer trapped by your financial obligations because you have successfully bought yourself the ultimate resource, which is time. Instead of working out of sheer survival desperation, you are working because you genuinely choose to be there. If an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity comes along that requires you to relocate across the country or take a temporary pay cut, you can say yes without hesitating. On paper, this looks like taking a step backward financially, but in reality, you are using your accumulated wealth as a lever to jump to a much higher trajectory. Most people are too terrified to take these risks because their monthly expenses are so high that they cannot afford even a single week of lower income. They are locked in a golden cage of their own making, unable to move because of the heavy liabilities they accumulated trying to look rich.
When you can afford risk, you can invest in yourself, and that is where the highest financial returns actually come from. You can go back to school, learn a new skill, or spend 6 months building a product without worrying about paying rent tomorrow. This level turns money from a defensive shield that protects you from disaster into an offensive tool that creates new opportunities. It is the transition from playing not to lose to actively playing to win. The fifth and final level of wealth is complete and total freedom over your time, which is the holy grail of modern money. At this stage, your investments and assets generate more than enough passive income to cover your entire lifestyle forever. To understand this, we have to look at the first principles of what an asset actually is. An asset is simply something you own that puts money into your pocket without you having to actively work for it, like rental properties, index funds, or business royalties. When your passive income exceeds your living expenses, you have successfully broken the bond between your hours and your survival. You no longer have to wake up to an alarm, answer to a boss, or ask permission to take a vacation. This does not mean you simply sit on a tropical beach sipping drinks all day, because humans naturally get bored of doing nothing. It means you have absolute control over your schedule, your projects, and who you choose to work with. You can spend your mornings volunteering, your afternoons building a passion project, and your evenings with your family without ever checking a bank account. True freedom is not about buying more expensive cars, but about never having to do things you hate just to survive. This is the ultimate goal, because time is the only truly finite resource we have, and once it is gone, no amount of money can buy a single second back. The richest person in the world is not the one with the most money, but the one who owns 24 hours of their own day. The biggest irony of modern society is that we are constantly encouraged to fake level 5 wealth, while we are actually struggling at level 1 or 2. We buy luxury items we do not need, with money we do not have, to impress people we do not even know or like. True wealth is completely quiet, and it is measured not by the things you display, but by the options you have available to you. It is the quiet confidence of knowing that you own your time, your decisions, and your future. The next time you find yourself tempted to buy a luxury item on credit, take a deep breath and ask yourself which level of wealth you are actually building. Are you buying a temporary status symbol, or are you buying your future freedom? Every dollar you do not spend on an unnecessary liability is a dollar that can be invested to buy back your future time. Remember, this channel is just one guy trying to make sense of this wild, confusing world of money, and none of this is official financial advice. Keep figuring things out, protect your cash, and I will see you in the very next video. Take care of yourself out there, and let us keep building that quiet freedom one step at a time.